Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the iACast. All right, I'm Michael, and this week with me, we have some folks that are going to be in and out on this recording. So I would like to say that right now we have Taylor Arndt. Hi, Taylor.
Hello, Michael. I don't have my good microphone today, so sorry about
That's
the sound
okay.
audio.
That's okay. And we may have others joining us, so stay tuned for that. And it's going to be very exciting stuff. Well, Apple had a little 38-minute event yesterday, and some devices were announced. You may care about them, you may not, but I definitely did. I really, really did. And we got new iPads. Hugely excited about new iPads. These iPads, well, it's kind of exciting, I have to say. It's very exciting because we now no longer have a home button iPad. The 9th generation has been retired. So I think some people will not be happy with this, and people like me are. I'm really ecstatic that it's happened. So now we have the iPad mini, the 10th generation iPad, the iPad Air, and the iPad Pro, which is interesting because we also have 4 different Apple Pencils now. We have the original, the OG Apple Pencil, the Apple Pencil USB-C, the Apple Pencil 2, and the Apple Pencil Pro that was announced. So none of that's confusing at all. We got quite a bit of new stuff with these iPads. We got the iPad Air and the iPad Pro. And it's interesting because on the diagonal, they're both still 11-inch and 12.9-inch, but at least that was what was said, but it says they're 13-inch iPads now. So I don't know if they're rounding or if these are slightly bigger or what the deal is. So it's quite interesting that it is such a different landscape now. I will definitely be getting the 13-inch iPad. Now, the Air comes in several different colors. The blue and the purple, they have that this time, but they all look like a space gray with a hue of blue or purple. I didn't like those colors, and I don't like these new color hues that they're doing. I like very wild, vivid colors. So I'm just not that big a fan of how Apple is doing colors this generation for things like that. So, I mean, take it as you will. I know a lot of people that are totally blind don't really care. I like colors. The way things look is important. So we got all the devices are now upgraded to higher space amounts. So like even the iPad Airs are now at 128 gigs of space built in, which is really cool. We got 128 gigs of space, 256 on the new Pros, and the Air is going to start at $599. That's not bad, I think. It's not a bad price for those. The Pros are going to be like, I think, $999. So, I don't know. I think that the pricing is very interesting. They are bringing down the 10th generation iPad to around $350, I think it is. $350, $375, something like that. Which is not bad. I mean, a sub $400 iPad, no matter what it is a good thing. And I think what's exciting to me is they finally moved the camera where it will look good in landscape. Taylor, we've been on several FaceTime calls where we have to look to the left, right? Because the camera is not where you think it should be.
Definitely.
Yeah. A lot of people say, why do you get an iPad instead of a Mac? And I like to challenge people and say, do you always want to use everything in the browser, right? Is the browser what you always want to use? I don't like to use everything in a browser. It just is cumbersome. So, like, if I'm using a 13-inch device, what if I want to use SiriusXM? I have to go to a browser, right, on a Mac. Whereas if I have my iPad next to me or if I'm using it, then I've got the app, right? So I don't have to worry about having everything in a browser tab. So, currently with the iPads, you have more apps than you do on the Mac. And I think that's huge. That's where it's very interesting, and where I challenge that the iPad sometimes is more useful. And so now that we have the hardware, like that new Magic Keyboard that makes it more like a computer, then that's what's worth, the upgrade. I was listening to a few blindness podcasts on this today, and I was very disheartened what I heard. I mean, I understand some people don't want an iPad because of how big it is, but they were saying that the iPad is too confusing now, and I don't think it is. I think the iPad is just like buying a computer. What computer do you buy? Right? What Mac do you buy? These things are computers, folks. Like, I mean, there's some things you can't do with them. You can't develop with them very well compared to a Mac. But if that's the only issue, then get a Mac and get an iPad. Or, the iPad has so many advantages over having a standard computer. Like I was just talking about, having the apps that are in the iOS App Store. And then you have full website browsing. You have you have the best of both worlds on a computer. You just, shell access is not really there for development, but you've got some of the things that really make using a computer worth it on an iPad. I think you get more bang for your buck, even though an iPad is more expensive. You get a better bang for your buck on the iPad than you do on the Air. And, what a lot of people don't realize, they say, well, why did the iPad get the M4 and not the Air? Well, the reason is this new display technology, this tandem OLED, or as they also call it, the Ultra Retina XDR display, is very much worth that M4 chip. It needs that new display graphics card to display on that tandem OLED. And that's fine. Another complaint that I've heard is the fact that these iPads are thinner and therefore might be more breakable. I'd like to challenge that. And the reason why I say that is I had a Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Plus. It was an OLED and it was thinner than the iPad. And it was just as durable as you'd expect. So I don't know that this is going to be an issue as much as people are talking about. I think that we're looking at a very solid device here. Now, what's interesting, I have heard people say, though, that the USB cable, the housing that goes around it, is actually thicker than the actual device, which to me is crazy awesome. Like, the fact that that is the case is just awesome. It's thinner than the iPad Nano, the iPod Nano, and I'm going to say that and mess up a few times. And, the interesting thing is they did not talk about battery, but I think they are expecting to get the same battery level on the new iPads as they are the current iPad Pros, which is very interesting. Also, I was listening to a podcast and they said that the Magic Keyboard is supposed to charge at an incredible 60 watts. That is a lot of power going through that thing. That is so crazy. Very interesting if that's the case. So I'll be buying one. And another thing that the iPads have that the Macs do not have is a potential cellular connection. So my iPad Pro is always on. It's always on the internet. I don't have to worry about connecting my hotspot and worry about it disconnecting and reconnecting and disconnecting and reconnect. That's annoying. My MacBook Air doesn't have that capability, but the iPad does. So, if you have all of that tech that's always on the internet, you have a good keyboard with a Force Touch trackpad, just like the Macs have, then besides the developer stuff, like if they added, software to fix and make developing better on the iPad, which they very well could do this year, folks. If they did that, what is the difference? What is the difference between the iPad and the MacBook? I mean, yes, we don't have audio hijack and loop back. Yes, I know. I know. I wish we did. That'd be great. But what if we did? What if we had full shell access to do what we do on a Mac on an iPad, but we still had iPadOS? What if we had a terminal app from Apple running ZSH? What if we had those things? We already have Final Cut. We already have Logic. We already have graphical editing software. What if we had those things? Would that be enough to tell you, yeah, one thing I would love to see though is like a more column version of the Files app if that doesn't already exist, because I feel like the grid view, it does get a little hard and cumbersome to work with. But if that already exists, then what are we missing? What do we need? I mean, obviously there are things that, have been built on the Mac that just haven't been built in iOS yet. Totally understand. But I don't know. I'm going to be personally bringing back my iPad mini and my MacBook Air and getting, a new Mac, but also just having the one iPad. Our phone screens are getting bigger. There's not as much need in my view for a mini. So, I mean, what are we doing? So, I'm kind of curious. Taylor, you have an iPad Air. Does any of this interest you as a screen reader user, and why or why not would you want to upgrade to a Pro or a new Air?
I don't think I will because there's not any features that I'm like, ooh, make me spend my money, right? It's not a revolutionary upgrade in my opinion. So having said that, probably not.
Gotcha. Is there what would it take for the iPad?
Gosh, I don't know. Hmm, don't know. I like it just has to be something that will be like, you need this because of X. I can't think of what that reason is right now.
Would it be virtualization? Like, what if you could virtualize Windows on an iPad?
That would be interesting. That might get it. That might do it. I guess maybe I don't know, because like the iOS voiceover, like the macOS voiceover is slightly better, but it'd be nice if I could run Windows on my iPad. I don't know.
And I mean, that would be very interesting if you could, if you could
I mean,
run
you
Windows.
technically could with 365, but yeah, it'd be in a browser.
Yeah, but that's all virtualized. Well, it's not in a browser. It would be in the remote desktop app, but
I guess you could. Yeah. But you can't install Parallels, from
right.
what I know.
You could use Shadow PC, you could use a lot of those things, but yeah, it's not a native experience like installing Parallels. But I mean, we've gotten more specs. We've gotten on the Pros. They start with 256 gig of space. They've got 8 gigs of RAM, unless you get the higher end models, and they have an extra processing core. I think a performance core, and they have, like I said, 16 gigs of RAM, and you can get them 1 and 2 terabyte models. So that's a lot of space on an iPad. So you get some really good, really good performance out of these things. So, all right. So the next thing is they do have a new coating they could put on that's like etched into the glass. I always forget the name, but it is basically to help the iPad look good in high light environments where you have a lot of glare. And these should only be used if you're going to be outside a lot. And in fact, they only exist on the 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte models, and you have to pay $100 more for these. I would not recommend folks use this because it does decrease the sharpness and contrast of the displays. So that is something to keep in mind. Also, you cannot use your current Apple Pencil with these new iPad models. You will need a new Apple Pencil, the Apple Pencil Pro that goes with these. It has a barrel roll feature where you can roll it around to do things. You can squeeze the pin to do different things, which gives you haptic feedback. And there's a lot of new features there in the new Apple Pencil Pro. Interestingly, I think they should have done what Samsung did and have it on the back, because it just takes up a lot of space on the side. It really does. And it's actually thicker than the iPad. So I'm like, okay, if you put this thing on the iPad, is it going to fall off because it's thicker? I guess not, but it's interesting. They also got rid of one of the ultra wide angle camera on the iPad. So you have a camera, you have a 12 megapixel camera, you have the LiDAR sensor, the new, I don't remember what they call this flash, but it helps with reading documents. It can remove shadows and things off of documents, which is really cool. And you have you have a microphone there. So I do like it because it's not just a big black area on the iPads. You actually get a colored area that goes with the color of the iPad you pick. So Space Black actually has the same finish on the camera area as the rest of the iPad, and same for the silver, has that light silver kind of color on the camera bump instead of just being a full dark area where all light just goes away. These also have cellular, so they will work with your cellular connections. I'm sure they have better Wi-Fi, but they have the M4 chip, like we talked about. They're 5.1 millimeters for the 13-inch, 5.3 for the 11-inch. Very thin iPads. And the thing that people keep saying is the problem is it's amazing hardware. The M1 iPad is an amazing device. But everybody keeps saying it's limited by iPadOS, which I kind of agree with. I mean, I feel like they haven't done much with it, so I'm hoping they do more at WWDC, more than just add a calculator. So that's my 2 cents there. And I'm kind of hoping we get more Mac features in iPadOS 18. Really, I'm hoping for that. And I was also hoping for something to be announced for books, like maybe a book subscription or something, like a service for books. That'd have been neat. But we have not received anything like that. I would imagine something will be announced at WWDC for more services. My thought. The iPads still have the same speaker configurations, so I'm wondering how they're going to sound with thinner speakers, if they're going to sound as good. I hope so. And we also, I think we're going to see the end of the Smart Keyboard Folio case. We have a new Smart Folio that's in denim, like a dark blue denim color. So that's interesting. And I did get confirmation on the Smart Keyboard case. Everybody was wondering if it's aluminum, on the palm rests or all aluminum. It is not. It is aluminum on the inside where the palm rests are and the trackpad, but the outside is still the silicone rubberized area that we've expected on the other smart keyboards. Now, interestingly, the little cutout where the circular area where the USB-C cable is on current smart keyboards is more oval shaped now and thinner. So that's very interesting. And yeah, it's very similar design, and you'll definitely be able to tell it's a smart keyboard, but it's a lot thinner and lighter compared to the previous models. So that's a lot of information. I'm really excited about these just because they're going to be, this iPad I'll probably buy and have for several years. They have not updated the iPad's model since 2018. And that's incredible that we've been using the same design since then. And we've been using USB-C on an iPad since 2018, which is incredible. So, well, this, we have all of these devices. They cost a lot, folks. The new iPads are, I believe, $999 and like $1,300 or something like that. They're very expensive for the pros. And like they go up to $22.99 if you get the maxed out one. It's a lot of money for a tablet. And you definitely want to get AppleCare on that thing. So, but that's going to wrap it up this time, since it's just me for the most part talking about iPads. We may have another show to discuss this further. One thing I do want to bring up before I end is there were some very interesting animations, and believe it or not, people are getting upset, like of Apple crushing things in a press, like when they press down at everything and show like all these toys and different things being smushed into an iPad Pro. People just need to lighten up. I'm sorry, but like, that was ridiculous. People are like outraged on the internet and all this stuff. It's like, it's just an ad, people. Come on now. So, yeah, people need to cool it and just take it in for what it is. It was just an artistic choice. So, those are my thoughts. And the audio description was good as usual. And I can't wait to see what we're going to get. We're going to do our regular iACast this weekend with, talking about this some more once we have more information, and once we actually have seen them, we'll talk some more. We also need to talk about the new Pixel 8a that was announced the same day, actually. So we'll talk about that too, and we'll talk about several other topics. But this has been another great iACast episode. We're going to be with WWDC very soon, so that's going to be very exciting. So I can't wait for that. And we will. I'm not going to do a pick this week, or this time, but we'll do a pick on this weekend's iACast. So stay tuned for all of that, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much. My name is Michael Dowies. You can find me on Mastodon as Mike Dowies at techopolis.social. You can email me at mikedowies@icloud.com, and I'm all over the web. Taylor, do you want to give any last-minute wrap-up thoughts?
Yeah, I found it at techopolis.social on Mastodon, and really, I think these iPads are cool, but I don't think that they're going to, make me spend more money.
All right, thank you, Taylor. So we'll be back next week for a new episode. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the iACast. We hope you enjoyed the show and found the conversation to be insightful and informative. If you have any feedback or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Please send us an email at feedback@iacast.net. You can also follow us on Twitter at iACast Network to stay informed about new episodes and other updates. Don't forget to check out more great podcasts on the iACast Network, iacast.net. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again soon.